Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something, well, pretty fascinating that happened recently.
Hmm.
You had this huge surge in tension, right? Iran hitting U.S. bases in Qatar, Iraq.
Yeah, things felt really on edge.
Exactly. The world was sort of holding its breath, waiting for this big response.
Waiting for the other shoe to drop.
And then, out of almost nowhere, you get former President Trump basically calling for peace. It caught a lot of people off guard.
It really did. Quite the turn.
So our mission for you today is to unpack that. The attacks, Trump's, surprising statement,
What does it all mean?
right? What are the implications for diplomacy, for the future, and importantly,
Ordinary people, yeah.
the real world impact?
Absolutely. It was definitely a moment where the script seemed to flip. You had Iran's actions.
And everyone asking, okay, is this just payback
Right.
or something more strategic?
Exactly. What message were they actually trying to send with those missiles?
Yeah.
There's a lot of immediate analysis, a lot of questions.
And into all that confusion, Trump drops this line. Our sources picked up on his exact words. I think Iran has vented its anger.
Maybe it's all over now.
Yeah. It sounds so casual, doesn't it? Like, almost like settling a minor squabble, not dealing with missile strikes.
It's incredibly informal language for that kind of
Yeah.
international stage.
But that's the thing, isn't it? Sometimes those off-the-cuff sounding remarks, they carry serious weight. Did our sources have any theories? Was that casual tone, like, deliberate? A strategy?
That's a really key question.
Yeah.
And yeah, the sources were sort of split on it.
Okay.
Well, some analysts saw it as, a genuine attempt to dial things back,
Yeah.
like using informal language to signal, okay, let's find a way out of this.
Offering an off-ramp without making anyone look weak.
Precisely. There are times when that kind of less formal approach can actually work.
Mm-hmm.
But then others,
Had a different take.
yeah, they pointed more towards the timing, Trump's own political situation maybe,
Yeah.
suggesting it was possibly more about managing how things look back home, maybe distancing himself a bit if things went badly.
So it makes the real intention kind of murky. Hard to pin down.
Very much so. Leaves a lot of room for interpretation by everyone involved globally.
Okay, so let's say this statement did help cool things down, whatever the reason behind it. What does this whole episode, the attack, the reaction, Trump's comment, tell us about where things are headed?
Yeah, the future trajectory.
Especially, in the Middle East, the U.S. role there. Could this weird turn actually change anything long term, maybe even between, say, Iran and Israel?
Well, our sources definitely think this moment raised new possibilities, or at least questions.
Like what?
For one, maybe it showed both sides, look, there's a limit here. We won't push past this point.
Establishing a kind of fragile ceiling on escalation.
Perhaps creating a new, maybe unstable balance. It could force a rethink of strategies,
Right.
maybe pushing towards more indirect conflict instead of direct hits.
There's always a but.
Right. Others were quick to caution that, okay, this immediate crisis might be over, but the big underlying problems, they haven't gone anywhere.
The proxy wars, the fight for regional influence.
Exactly. Those deep-seated issues don't just vanish because of one statement.
Yeah.
It was impactful, yes, but maybe not transformative in the long run.
And the U.S. presence.
Also under the microscope again. Some analyses suggested this could fuel calls for the U.S. to pull back, while others argued for just, reassessing how they're present.
It's easy to get stuck on the geopolitics, the big picture stuff, but you mentioned the impact on ordinary people. What did the sources say about that? How does this actually, hit home for them?
Yeah, and that's crucial because even just shifts in language, that sense of tension,
Mm-hmm.
it has real effects.
Like economically?
Definitely. We saw source reports mentioning, for example, foreign investment getting shaky,
Hmm.
which hurts local businesses, especially near those bases,
Okay.
and things like tighter border security.
Hmm.
That messes up daily commutes, trade,
Yeah.
people's livelihood.
And just the stress of it all.
Absolutely. The psychological side was a big theme. Just living with that constant worry, that uncertainty about what might happen next. Sources shared stories of anxiety levels going up.
Wow.
And even market prices for basic stuff. We saw data showing immediate effects in some areas, hitting families right in the wallet.
So wrapping this up then, it really feels like these moments, the world watching, that tension, and then a statement like Trump's, maybe it's all over now, they really can be pivotal, can't they?
They feel like potential turning points.
More than just news headlines. They could actually shift the way countries deal with each other.
For sure. You look back through history, and sometimes it is just a single decision or even just a phrase in international relations that ends up being a huge milestone.
Setting off a whole chain reaction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Leading to big, sometimes unexpected transformations down the line.
It makes you think, doesn't it? How fast things can change on the world stage, not just because of, troops or missiles.
But because of words,
Yeah.
choices made.
Choices made in meetings, or maybe even said kind of casually in front of a camera. It's just a reminder of how delicate that balance of global power is.
And how a single phrase, whether it's carefully planned or just off the cuff, can really echo and affect millions of lives.
Something definitely worth mulling over.